What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Six-Man Show. It is August 10th, 2020. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what it do, baby?
I'm great. I'm great because there's basketball on my television all day, every day. That is just as a basketball fan. Now, as a Magic fan, if you ask me how I'm doing,
We've had better weeks.
I'm all right. I'm all right. That's how I put it, I guess. This game today, you guys will be hearing this the podcast after the game has been played against the Celtics. So, tell me what happened, guys. But I'm pretty sure
I think I can guess what happened.
I'm pretty sure if you put current me in a room with a bunch of people from tomorrow, and they were all talking about the Magic game, I could blend in.
Right.
Because without knowing the result, I can just blend in. I can be like, wow, really struggled on the boards against the Sixers without AG and MCW. Really stunk today, against the Celtics as well. So I think that will continue to happen.
We're just I'm going to read the starters here, Luke. You and I have talked about this a little bit, but we're looking at James Ennis, Gary Clark, Wes Iwundu, DJ Augustine, and Nikola Vucevic.
Are they playing the Sioux City Heat? Is that the G League?
No, I think we're going to see a lot of DJ and Vooch pick and roll. And then hopefully those other guys are just going to, make good cuts and spot up and knock down open threes, or it's going to be really rough. And then second unit, we're looking at Markelle, Terrence Ross, Kem Birch.
I think our second unit beats our first.
I mean,
if
who
you
else
put
are
them
we
head
going
to
to see
head.
out there? Are we going to see Melvin Frazier or BJ Johnson, Vic Law? Like that's what we're going to be looking at as far as the second unit today, Luke. But we'll talk more, Celtics preview in a little bit. So basically, our last podcast was right after the Kings game where, Jonathan Isaac had gone down with the knee injury, and we were just like, the Magic are fearing it's the ACL, he just coming back from this knee injury. And since then, on Monday, it was confirmed that it was an ACL tear. Now he's also had the surgery, so it's also a confirmed meniscus tear. So life sucks. Now, it's confirmed that Jonathan Isaac is going to be gone. With as cautious as the Magic have been with Chuma, I think it's probably going to be like 12-plus months until we see J.I. again.
Yeah, I mean, and you're looking at it next year, like, could you make a case that J.I. would be back next year for the later part of the season? Healthy enough, at least, would be the argument. And you could say, yeah, I'd be willing to say that he will be healthy enough. At that point in the year, it depends on some things, right? It depends on how good Chuma is, because how good Chuma is will determine probably our record. Because he will give us a good lift, whether he is in that starting role because there's not much competition for him this next year, or does he come off the bench and give us a lift? Regardless, the answer is J.I. probably not coming back. I don't see us being in as good of a spot next year when he is technically healthy enough to maybe play for them to say, yeah, let's throw him out there. I think for safety reasons, especially after this freak incident, the second time, having two big injuries in the span of 8 months doesn't really bode well. And so as a result, I think you're going to see the Magic be even more cautious, if that's even possible, with J.I. And I don't see him playing at all next year, while I do think eventually he would be healthy enough to take the court, possibly. I mean, I can't see a world where he actually puts on a Magic uniform next year.
I just think, and the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, you and I haven't really discussed this yet, but, they keep saying that this is completely unrelated to the knee injury. Like, unequivocally, this had nothing to do with the previous knee injury, right? And I'm just like, that's way too much of a coincidence for me. Like, his third game back, he tears the ACL in the same exact knee. What they're saying is, they looked at the other structures, that were injured the first time, and there was no damage to any of those ligaments and stuff like that. Okay, well, was the knee strong enough to support itself to not have this, ACL thing be related? You have a hard time convincing me of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say I know anything about injuries, or I couldn't tell you where certain obvious bones of the body are located. So I'm not about to get into that. All I know is we're without Jonathan Isaac for the rest of this stupid bubble, and next year as a result. And it's unfortunate that we have to roll out a starting lineup today that we do against the Boston Celtics, and it is laughable the lineup that we have to roll out. We literally don't have a choice. So just injuries have plagued this team so far in the bubble. And there was that concern. I don't know if this happens in a regular season. Obviously it isn't happening in August if it's a normal regular season anyway, but there was the concern of injuries due to players and conditioning and things like that coming back into this environment, 3-4 months later. And Jonathan, we see it. We see it with guys like Mo Bamba, who, essentially Cliff came out and said, his conditioning's not right. And then, Mo Bamba took to Facebook, which was really odd.
Right. Yeah.
To clear the air for us.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook, and then I was like, okay, well, he must have posted it on like Instagram and Twitter. Nope, just Facebook.
Big Facebook guy. Facebook guy.
He really is, though. Like, I follow him on Facebook, obviously, and if you comment and stuff, like, he'll respond to you sometimes. Now, I don't know. I mean, with this recent instance, I do think it's him behind the Facebook page. Previous to that, I kind of had my doubts, but
right.
Maybe he just prefers Facebook. I don't know. But if you don't know what we're talking about, basically Mo took to Facebook to reveal that in June he had coronavirus. He contracted COVID-19. He's not really sure, when or exactly how it happened. But I'm just scrolling back here. I'm going to read it word for word. He said, "Here's what's up. Got COVID in June and then 2 false positives in the bubble. It's not something that people will necessarily see, but none of this is easy. It's all consuming. I've got to get as much work done as possible on my own because the team is really focused on the playoffs, and I really want to be out there with them. But in order for me to be out there with them, I have to work on myself." So he alluded to in an article written by Josh Robbins that he had kind of started to hear some of the noise and just kind of wanted to put that out there to basically, shut some people up. He didn't say that. Those are my words. But a lot of people were out there just talking crap about him. He sucks. He's not motivated, blah, 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 blah. Cliff doesn't trust him, blah, blah, blah. And I hope some of those people kind of rethink the way that they were talking about him after, this new information has come to light.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from the majority of Magic fans was probably we just don't know. Again, the Magic kind of trying to tiptoe around the reasonings and,
right.
Obviously they're kind of trying to just respect Mo as well. But we all knew something wasn't adding up. It was
just like
a
it
reason.
just didn't make sense why he wasn't playing at all.
Yeah, and I get his conditioning, but obviously his conditioning took a hit since he had COVID,
right.
Which was the big picture, the big thing, the what we got out of it, because it didn't make sense. It helped that he had gained those 20 pounds of muscle or whatever it was that maybe his conditioning isn't right. He's not used to that extra weight, but that never really made too much sense to me either. So it makes a lot more sense. At least we got somewhat of an answer. I'm glad Mo came out and said that. Good on him. Hopefully we see him out on the court. Hopefully soon. Hopefully today against Boston.
Definitely.
Hopefully he gets some minutes and some run. If he doesn't, that's gonna probably play a part in the loss. We just need more guys off the bench at this point. He doesn't have to play incredible. Just do the right thing.
Well,
don't make mistakes.
Yeah, last game we saw some Birch at the 4 with Vucevic on the floor. So if they do that again, maybe that opens up some minutes for Mo. But he basically said that he got COVID right when the individual workups were starting at the Amway again. So, he was behind in that respect and then got 2 false positives once he got to the bubble. So that's why we're like, oh, why haven't we seen Mo in any of these, practice videos the first few days? And that was why. So, but yeah, I'm glad that, obviously he seems to be doing well, even, post-COVID and everything. But it's probably going to be at least, another, I would guess another few weeks before we see Mo, playing pretty regularly. And with, whoever we're going to face up against in the first round and the injuries and the way that the team is looking, a few weeks we might not even be playing basketball anymore. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. Just to circle back to the J.I. conversation really briefly, because I wanted to talk about Chuma for just a second. Luke, I've got a lot of Chuma rookie cards that I've been stocking up. I'm banking on Chuma to...
This man has so many. Sent me a picture the other day when we were talking about Chuma.
Bro, as many as I have nothing compared to some of these guys out here. Like, it's what I've seen, it's ridiculous.
Like Chuma?
Just of Chuma. Just of Chuma. There are guys that have hundreds of Chuma cards. And I mean signed Chuma cards.
Is there a more fun first name than Chuma to say?
Probably not.
It's a fun
Chuma.
It's a fun name.
Chuma. Yeah, it is pretty fun to say. I would say that the under-over of, more fun names to say is probably at like 3, and I would take the under.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, there's definitely under 3 names more fun to say than Chuma.
I am literally, financially banking on Chuma to be good next year. I think
you're filing bankruptcy if he's not.
Pretty much. My kids won't be able to eat if Chuma is not very, very good next season.
And that's the price you're willing to pay. So.
I'm like Howard from Uncut Gems. I'm out here risking it all for Chuma Okeke, literally. Not literally, but I have like 15. It's really not that many.
Jonathan's
Please
kids are fine.
They're
fine.
Yeah, my kids are fine. They're eating.
Child services don't listen to this. You're
rice
fine.
and beans, but they're still healthy. No, but so many things just are going to affect how good this team is next year. Like what happens with Evan. I haven't even started to look into what our cap space looks like. Even if Evan moves on, I don't think we're going to really have money to spend on anybody. So, I mean, as much as I do think Evan needs to, be moved, one way or the other, it's just so much is up in the air right now. Now that Jonathan, we don't see him next year at all. We're not going to see him until he's like 150% healthy, until he's stronger than he was before. I thought you were going to say
150 years old.
No, please, no. and I tweeted this out the other night, but even like the Advent Health commercials, they just make me so sad now because he seems like he was really into that commercial. He's talking about like sacrificing for the good of your team, and like there's no other like better personification of like just working as hard as you can to try to benefit your team, and then the kid tears his ACL. He's doing fine, by the way. Like we are so much more upset right now than Jonathan Isaac is. That's how just like incredible the kid is, but couldn't feel worse. It really sucks.
What switching gears to a more happy, upbeat
anything, please. I'm begging
subject. What would you say the number one thing in the bubble that has surprised you and maybe pleased you the most to see in the bubble from other NBA teams is a non-Magic fan related question?
See, it's tough for me because like I would say the Suns, but one of my best friends is a big Suns fan. He's always telling me Devin Booker is the second coming of Michael
Jesus,
Jordan.
You can say
like
it.
Literally, I don't want to say that, but like I mean, you're not wrong. Like
that's what he says,
no, like,
right? Not you.
He doesn't say he's the second coming of Jesus. He's a devout Christian, so he would never say anything as blasphemous as that. But like and everything short of the second coming of Jesus is Devin Booker. So it kills me to say this, but like I cannot believe what is happening with the Suns right now. Like you and I talked on the podcast and we were like, it's either them or the Wizards going 0-8.
We need to probably
please forgive us, Phoenix.
Apologize just because.
Please forgive us.
Yeah, I mean 5-0.
The only
Phoenix on
team.
social media, by the way, is pretty funny right now. But they're
the Phoenix Suns social media team is 5-0 right now.
They are.
They're just killing it. They're the TJ Warren of social media right now.
Oh, TJ Warren. Suns don't want to talk about TJ Warren. Cash considerations. So
yeah, that hurts.
But I mean, that's such a weird parallel just because TJ Warren, obviously, as many of you know, if you are keeping up with the bubble at all, know that TJ Warren is a bona fide just bubble superstar.
Yeah,
just
problem.
Just gets it done.
Like,
and
we've seen Summer League All-Stars, but this guy is on another level.
This guy is unreal right now, just playing out of his mind. Jimmy Butler said some hurtful things about TJ Warren recently, a few months back, right?
Yeah.
Was that a few months ago?
I mean,
so.
you
guys
you
can
could tell
fact
me
check
it was
on that.
5 years ago, and I would believe you at this point, the way this year
Okay.
has gone.
Yeah. So
We believe it was this season. Let's just say that. We believe it was this season.
right. So I mean, and TJ Warren has just come alive. Jimmy Butler awoke the beast. And I don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. The Suns, also, switching back to that, it's really interesting because Devin Booker's killing it, but Devin Booker's always killing it for them.
Right.
Like, he's always doing well. He might not be shooting the most effective field goal percentage all the time, just because he's taking such a high volume of shots. But you got guys like Cam Payne chipping in, Javon Carter from West Virginia chipping in as well. Last night, I think he had like 20 points or something ridiculous. And you have so many guys that are contributing for them. Obviously, you get your nightly double-double from DeAndre Ayton, because that's DeAndre Ayton. He's just a massive human being and really skilled,
35
young
years
player.
old. No, he's not.
Right.
Young. I don't care what they tell me. He's 30. He looks 35 years old.
Okay.
That was like
Yeah.
when they're like,
Yeah.
Bismack Biyombo is like 24. I was like, there's no way.
Also, Thon Maker falls in that category. I don't believe it.
Serge Ibaka, same thing. They say Serge Ibaka
Yeah.
is like 30. There's no way.
No. So, all that to say, the Suns are 5-0. I thought they'd be 0-5 at this point. I don't know what's going on. When you and I, Jonathan, were kind of making our predictions for the bubble and the resumption of the season and the playoffs, I said near the end, we're doing all this just so we can look back and see what idiots we are, that we know nothing, and that it
Right.
never goes as you think it will. The Suns 5-0 being the biggest thing. Obviously, we didn't think TJ Warren would take off like he has. Just been really incredible. Been a better player than Victor Oladipo. And, that might not be something people are ready to talk about yet, but TJ Warren, if he keeps this up, man, like, I hope he does, because this is incredible. I love
If
good
he
NBA
keeps this up,
storylines.
The Pacers are winning the championship.
Whoa.
Like,
Whoa.
bro, he's dropping like, gosh, near 40 points a night right now in the bubble.
Can you imagine if they had Sabonis? Obviously, TJ Warren probably doesn't do this.
Could you
but
imagine
with
if the
Sabonis,
Pacers still had Paul George?
whoa, wolf. Yeesh. Yeesh.
There's a lot
Paul
of
George,
conversations
speaking
to
of-
be had there. There's a lot. There's
Well-
some Paul George stuff, some Dame Lillard stuff going on. The bubble,
Well,
the bubble is everything we wanted and more.
Jonathan, you're a big Dame guy.
I'm a big
well-known
Dame guy.
What were your takeaways from his 2 missed free throws yesterday in clutch time, to the remarks made, the laughing on the bench over there by Pat Bev? Were you surprised by any of it, and did you enjoy it?
I thoroughly enjoyed all of it. Okay, very on brand for Pat Bev, right? Like,
Yeah.
not surprised by that at the least. Dame Lillard, extremely uncharacteristic to miss, 2 clutch free throws in the last minute of a game, right? However, the response after the game and on Instagram, extremely on brand for Damian Lillard. For those that don't know what's going on, I think the Blazers were down 2 within the last minute.
They were down 1.
They're down 1.
With like 19 seconds to go, and Dame Lillard is fouled. Goes to the free throw line. They're talking about Dame. Nobody else you want at the line right now. Blah 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 blah. Dame misses the front end of the 2 free throws. So now you're thinking, okay, worst case, Clips have a shot to go down to the other end of the court, get a bucket, and win the game, or just go into OT. Dame misses the second free throw, and then you have Pat Bev over there just laughing, like jumping up on, like, I guess like a scores table
the
type
barricade,
thing, like a
yeah.
table. Yeah, and just going nuts. Also,
Dying
there was
laughing.
there was so many weird storylines in this game from beginning to end, but especially at the end, obviously, with that happening. We're not used to seeing Dame miss a shot, let alone 2 free throws in a row. I saw that the percentage statistically that a free throw shooter of his caliber, I think he shoots like 88, 89, something like that percent
Close
from the
to
free throw
90.
line. Right. The percent chance statistically that a guy of his caliber misses 2 free throws in a row is 1.4%.
Unbelievable.
Missed them both. But the craziest part, Kawhi Leonard rested. So everybody's saying, "Oh, the Battle of LA is for real. The Clippers really want the Lakers to play against the Blazers and really help them. They don't want to win this game today." I was like, "Oh, I don't know." Jonathan, 3 minutes left in the game. The game is close. The Clippers are down at this point. Clippers were down 5 with a minute and a half to go. Paul George is nowhere to be seen. They don't care about that game. And somehow they win. So I don't know what kind of tomfoolery is happening over there. Clearly, I just used the word tomfoolery probably for the first time in my life. It's incredible that Paul George wasn't even in the game. Pat Bev was obviously not playing. Kawhi was resting the whole time, obviously. So the whole game in itself was just really weird. But, I mean, it was the weirdest game of the bubble probably.
After the game, Pat Bev, they're hitting the wave to Dame that Dame famously gave to,
Right.
the Oklahoma City Thunder last year after hitting, that shot basically from North Carolina and, sent them home. And now basically it's getting really rough for the Trailblazers. Basically, they don't have a shot to make the playoffs at this point. But after the game, the reporters were asking Dame, like, what did you think about that? He's like, it's not a big deal to me. It just shows, what they expect from me. They expect me to make those shots. He's like, it's more of like a sign of respect. And honestly, it just shows you how hurt they are by what I did to them in the past. So that was just extremely on brand for Damian Lillard to take what should just be a humiliating, like embarrassing, like anybody else is taking that L, right? And Damian's like, no, I'm not. I'm from Oakland. This doesn't bother me, right?
What is going through PG and Pat Bev's head? They know that Dame really has just owned them historically.
Right.
Like, I mean, as crushing of a blow last year as you can take if you're Paul George, Dame waves you goodbye off the court, and then you have the audacity in a regular season game to try to get back at him, and then even further, he didn't even collect his thoughts and cool down. He just went to Instagram and just said, he sent me home, whatever. He's going home now.
Right.
And just like laughed about it. I'm like, I would much rather go home now than the way he sent you home last year.
Well, then Dame comes back. He's like, yeah, you just keep switching teams. You guys are a bunch of bums.
He told him to keep chasing the grind.
Yeah. Or keep running from the grind or something to that effect. Like keep switching teams.
Yeah, running away from the grind.
Keep running away from the grind. Like I'm here really doing it in Portland, which like I love Damian Lillard, but like the odds of him winning a championship in Portland, largely thanks to LaMarcus Aldridge just bouncing, are at this point, it's looking pretty slim. I think at some point, they gotta shake things up there in Portland. But I mean, props to Dame. Right. He seems like he's gonna be a Blazer for life. I would love to have that guy in the Magic, but just not looking great. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed all of that. And then really the only like the really big storyline, Luke, they kind of put this whole scenario together where like if you're the 9th seed and you're 4 games or closer to the 8th seed, then you have a play-in game to try to make the playoffs. We know all of this was built to try to get Zion and the Pelicans into the playoffs. And like Zion is legitimately just like not playing at all right now.
Right.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, you said it to me. I don't remember if you said it on record, but you said, Zion's looking a little beefy out there.
I'll say it to anybody that's listening. He looks chunky.
He looks chunky, and so, that conditioning's not right. I mean, I don't know. The craziest part to me is he's playing these minutes, but he's
amazing. Don't get me wrong.
He's effective. He's being effective and efficient even with these minutes. But it is interesting. I forget which game it was the other day. I've watched so much basketball recently that I can't remember. But the Pelicans were playing. It was a tight game. There was like 4 minutes left in the game, and Zion comes out. And I'm like, what is happening? Because usually – if you're in with 4 minutes to go, it's tight, you typically ride it out, play the rest of the game. Zion comes out, and I'm like, that's really weird. Is he really out for the rest of the game? Is this really where his conditioning's at? And then they put him in 2 minutes later. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, he's an incredible player, but if he can't play 2 extra minutes in a close game, what can we expect from Zion? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, with the clip he's playing at, he's doing well. His stats are nothing to scoff at, but I don't know, man. It's really weird. And to your point, the NBA really would like Zion in the playoffs, but Pelicans really aren't doing him any favors. Zion apparently isn't running up and down the court as much as he should during practice to get that conditioning up. So, I mean, I don't know what to expect from the Pelicans. Right now, they're getting the work from the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, that could change by the time you guys hear this tomorrow. I think right now it's 62-45 at halftime. So, I don't know. I don't know what to expect with the Pels. I actually want to check his minutes right now at halftime and see if we can get an idea of how many minutes he's looking to play. He's played 12 minutes of the 24. So maybe he plays 24 minutes, which is pretty much what he's been playing the whole time.
Right.
And maybe sometimes less. 15 minutes early on, and now he's been playing like 24 to 25 minutes. So, and he's struggling right now too. So I mean, I don't know what the Pelicans are going to look like. That 8 seed is really interesting. I would love at this point for obviously a Blazers Memphis play-in, or a Suns Memphis
Get the Suns
play-in.
in there. I mean, they meet the criteria right now, and I have to walk back what I said a few minutes ago about the Blazers. They're still, very much in the thick of it. They're just a game behind the Grizzlies, so if it holds, they'll be in that play-in game. And
if they win yesterday, they might be the 8th spot playing in the play-in. It looks like a play-in is inevitable right now in the Western Conference.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just a matter of who it's going to be, which is insane because there's only 3 games left and we have no idea.
Yeah, I think the Spurs win, they're going to be right there, but I think the Pelicans with a loss today, it's going to be almost mathematically impossible for them to make that, just because they still have so many teams to get ahead of to get to that 9th spot. So, but yeah, I think it's probably either going to come down to Trailblazers and Suns, and with Zion, right? Just the reason I'm saying he's too heavy, like I'm not trying to fat shame or anything like that, but a guy that size, we've never seen somebody that size, that athletic, and for him to be running and jumping 70 plus games a year, I just don't know how your joints and ligaments are going to hold up to have like a lengthy career. You know what I mean? And the Pelicans definitely want him to. We saw that picture a few weeks before the bubble of him in the mask in the weight room at the Pelicans facility, just looking lean, and now I feel like we've been catfished. But
someone photoshopped that, no doubt.
Something had to happen.
Someone put some edges on him. Something's
going on. But
also, I want to talk about this while we're in the Western Conference real quick before we kind of switch over to the Magic and what it'll mean for them and what they've got to do in their scenario to try to get that 7th spot, which looks very unlikely now, but who knows? After all, it is bubble basketball; it's all unpredictable. But let's say you're the Lakers right now, who, by the way, the Lakers are driving the struggle bus right now. They lose to the Pacers yesterday. Again, they fall victim
behind the struggle bus.
That's true. They fall victim to TJ Warren, just like the rest of us.
Everybody.
39 points dropped on the Lakers. If you're the Lakers, do you want to see a team like the Phoenix Suns right now in the playoffs? I get the matchup, and you can look at it on paper, but man, the way the Lakers are struggling and the way that the Suns are playing, it would be a lot of fun to get an AD DeAndre Ayton matchup. So I would love it, but I'm not saying the Lakers will lose, but I think that'd be a really compelling series to see kind of the battle of the big men and see if LeBron can get it back on track. He played decent yesterday, but has been kind of struggling as of late, and AD struggled mightily yesterday.
This is what I've got to say about the Lakers, right? I have my doubts, right? Like I have serious doubts now about what's going to happen with them come playoff time, and I know it's been 3 years, but when LeBron first season without Kyrie in Cleveland, Kevin Love was out. When we were going into those Eastern Conference playoffs, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm not sure that the Cavs are going to be able to get it done. And then what was it, like 7 games against the Pacers? It was like 4 or 5 games against the Raptors, 7 games against the Celtics. Like, we just saw the very best from LeBron. So at that point, like, I've kind of learned, like, all right, maybe we shouldn't doubt LeBron until like he's proved that he doesn't have it anymore. Like he was looking pretty rough, but like you said, played pretty well last night. So, but I just don't know what's going to happen with the Lakers. If him and AD can put it together, then it's, a completely different team. But I really think like the loss of Avery Bradley was like a real thing for them, right? Just his ability to just be an absolute pit bull, defensively, his ability to, get his own shot at times. The JR and the Dion Waiters things hasn't like totally worked out just yet. It doesn't seem like JaVale and Dwight have been like the same players they were in the regular season, but maybe they can kind of play into shape. Maybe they know they have the first seed locked up and they're just kind of sandbagging and waiting for the playoffs. I really don't know, but the Western Conference is especially the playoffs are going to be so much fun to watch. Talking about like the play-in game, but then we've got the Lakers, the Clippers, like teams like the Rockets, the Mavericks. Luka's been playing out of his mind. So
that dude is unreal.
He's unbelievable. Hey, Magic were one more loss in the the 2017 season away from having Luka Doncic. But we don't have to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about it.
But let's talk about the people are here for a reason. It's an Orlando Magic podcast. They want to talk some Orlando Magic basketball. We talked about some really sad news at the beginning of the podcast. This week we don't really have too much good news. For the Magic. I think Luke,
we're full of bad news.
It's all bad news. We're just the bad news bears today. Basically this is breaking down exactly the way that you and I predicted it. Before the bubble.
For us.
For you and I, right? Yeah.
Not for the 7th seed. Not for the team in the 7th spot right now. We clearly didn't know that the freaking Nets G League team is the LA Lakers of the regular season. Like, what is happening?
This is what I think. This is my theory, right? And it really started with the first game, against the Nets for us. Like that first half when it was, semi-close. You got guys like, Chris Chiozza and, Jared Allen, Joe Harris. Like these other guys are like, we don't have KD, we don't have Kyrie, we don't have Spencer Dinwiddie. But like a lot of these guys are literally playing for their careers right now. Yeah. They're playing like they have nothing to lose because they don't.
They have a bunch of MCW energy level guys right now.
Well, then we've got teams like the Bucks not doing us any favors. Like literally, the Nets beat the Bucks the other night, and basically the entire fourth quarter the Bucks are sitting the Nets. So like I texted you like we were relying on Frank Mason at that point down the stretch to be able to beat the Nets for us. There was no Chris Middleton out there. It was basically DJ Wilson. It was Frank Mason. It was Dante DiVincenzo. They threw Kyle Korver out there for a few minutes. But these are the guys that we're relying on to beat the Nets for us. And they just couldn't get it done.
No. Bucks don't care, clearly.
Right. They've got the 1 seed wrapped up. They're good to go.
The Nets care a lot. Their guys do, at least about individually, which is in turn has helped them from a team standpoint. But I mean, if you look at the rest of the year, I believe the way that you kind of and it's been rolled out is the Magic need to go 2-1. Obviously, you guys know the result of the Celtics game at this point, so you know what it is now. But you got to go 2-1. One of those wins has to be against the Brooklyn Nets in order to gain a whole game up on them. And then the Nets need to go 0-3. Now, what I'll say is it is not impossible that the Nets go 0-3. I have more hope in the Nets going 0-3 than I do us going 2-1, including beating them. Let's say we do beat them. We still probably lose to the Celtics tonight. So then at that point we have to go 1-1. I'm not super optimistic we beat the Pelicans at the final game of the year, although that will provide, obviously, if we lose to the Celtics, we beat the Nets, it'll lead to a great finale if the Nets are still 0-2 up to that point, to see if we can get that 7th spot. The Trailblazers are the Nets' last game, and the Blazers will be fighting just as hard as the Nets, probably harder, and they have more talent. So you can probably guess the Blazers win that game, right?
Right.
It all really comes down to August 11th, Tuesday. What time is that game?
It's going to be at 1 p.m.
Okay, I didn't know if that was just like a default thing and they weren't sure yet. Yeah, so for me, it's noon, and Comes down to that game. Hopefully the guys get up for that game. If they can't get up for it, they clearly don't want the 7th seed that badly. So, especially if the Nets lose to the Clippers. So, it's not statistically impossible, but like I said, I have more faith that the Nets go 0-3 than the Magic going 2-1. This ultimately comes down to that Pelicans game, probably.
Well, I'm still pretty cautiously optimistic. I think just because we've been handed so much bad news in the last week, it's just like we're all like, okay, well we're completely screwed anyways, right? I mean, we picked the Magic to win the first 2 games, lose 4 in a row, win the last 2 games. We're still in line to do that, right? Now we didn't think the Nets were gonna beat the Bucks or anything like that, right? But we still guessed that they were gonna go either 2-6 or 3-5. I think the odds of them finishing the next 3 games 0-3 are pretty good. Got the Clippers, really good team. The Magic are obviously still the better team. They're going to need to win that game. Still the more talented team. And then the Blazers, like you said, they're going to need to win that game. So the chance of the Nets going, going 0-3 is pretty good. For me, it's going to come down to the Pelicans game. It's going to be like a 50. It's going to be a coin flip of whether or not we end up in the 7th or 8th seed. All of that being said, I still think, given all the crap that's been handed to us recently, it's still going to be a failure if we don't end up in the 7th seed. The Nets are not making any excuses. They're missing plenty of guys, right? They're still going out, playing, and winning games. The Magic need to do the same. Yep. Right? So,
yep.
But anyway, so talking about the Pacers game, basically it all came down to that first quarter. The Magic go down 43-22 after the first quarter. TJ Warren was shooting the lights out in that first quarter. He ends up, what are we looking at here? 32 points, 13 of 17 from the floor. So just incredibly efficient. Miles Turner, 7 of 11 from the floor, 21 points. Oladipo adding 13. Brogdon, Aaron Holiday, McConnell, all 12 points for them, right? Then we turn that game on its head, and basically, Evan Fournier, 2 of 10 from the floor. That it's just a huge difference in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's been no secret. Fournier's had a game, I think, or 2, where he's performed to the caliber necessary and what his averages reflect. But outside of that, big game Evan Fournier really hasn't been big game Evan Fournier.
No.
So it's obviously not just on Evan Fournier. Obviously, these bad breaks the Magic have been catching is super unfortunate. But all that to say, there's a lot of flags raised going into these last 3 games. But the truth of the matter is, you get the 7th seed, you get the 8th seed. If you get the 7th seed, maybe you're getting a gentleman's sweep, not in your favor. You get the 8th seed. Yeah, imagine if we gentlemen swept Toronto Raptors 7-4-1. You get the Bucks. Unless the Bucks do what they did against the Nets and say we don't care about this game and sit Giannis the second half, and even still, I don't know if the Magic win that game. This also rides on just AG getting back to 100% healthy. Obviously, he's going to have a bum hamstring probably. Him going up against Giannis scares me for his hamstring. And then same, I mean, really for the Raptors. But Raptors are just more desirable to play just because, they don't have a Giannis. They have multiple guys that can beat you, but they don't have Giannis. So all that to say, it's a tough road these last 3 games, and the playoffs are not going to get any easier either. Magic basketball probably is definitely over here in a couple weeks.
Well, I mean, we've been talking, you and I specifically have been, talking about, a potential matchup with the Raptors, in the first round if we do get the 7th seed, and we got a chance to see what that looked like the other night. And again, it really didn't go well, right? Magic lose 109-99 to the Raptors, and honestly, Luke, they were really hanging in there. Really, what swung the entire game for me was Kyle Lowry, and it wasn't because Kyle Lowry just had this great game. He ends up with 8 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, so almost a triple double, but 2 of 9 shooting. But really, the one play that swung the game in their favor was Aaron Gordon basically what looks like is going to be just an easy give me dunk. Kyle Lowry just decides to run underneath the basket, just really cock back, swipe at Aaron Gordon, and causing Aaron to land awkwardly. That left leg, I think it was, or swings up in the air, pulls his hamstring. Aaron, I think, played like 1 or 2 possessions after that. Hamstring tightened up, and then he was removed from the game.
Yeah, and we thought he was all right. I think he had a move in the post, like not too late
yeah,
after
he got
that.
an and one right after that.
And then, goes back out, and here we are 2 games later, and he's still not playing. So,
yeah.
Thanks, Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, we've talked about Evan Fournier, plenty, but this was just another. During the game, I tweeted out that, if Terrence Ross and Evan Fournier aren't knocking down 3-point shots consistently, it just almost always spells disaster for the Magic. Like, when you look at that starting unit, everybody, knows that Evan is probably the best shooter, definitely, in my opinion, the best shooter in that unit. And then Terrence Ross, playing for the Magic, he literally has one job, and it's to shoot threes. So when the two of those guys combine for 4 of 16 from the 3-point line, it's just never going to bode well. The Magic aren't going to get the spacing that they need, not going to have enough points really to win the game. And the Magic didn't really play poorly in this game. It just came down to the Raptors being better, the Raptors knocking down shots, looking at, Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, had a few really, really tough shots in this game, knocking down those shots. And that's what it came down to. The other thing for me is, I get that Markelle is on this minutes restriction, but why is it necessary that DJ has to start? I think, Cliff really likes the way that Markelle looks in that second unit, but especially the last, 5-6 minutes of a game. We'll talk about the Philadelphia game. I know that, Luke was making fun of the way I say Philadelphia. Whatever, I say it wrong. Who cares? He didn't want to bring it up on the podcast, but I'm bringing it up anyways. But the Philadelphia game, those last 5 minutes of Markelle not being out there really just killed us. But even if Markelle's on the minutes restriction, if he's playing 22 minutes a game or whatever, play him for the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, and then bring DJ in, and then let Markelle play the last 5-6 minutes of a game. I think just when it's crunch time, your best players need to be on the floor. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. But yeah, the Raptors defense really just stifling in this game. The Magic just could not get good looks. Vucevic, you and I kind of joked about this last week, but I've lost all confidence that he's going to be able to play well against Marc Gasol. So
yeah, I mean, it
no matter
took
what
you
happens,
way longer than it took me to say that.
No, I know.
But
first round is going to be rough either way. Without J.I., it's just all bad.
It's not good. And then, after that Raptors game, obviously Orlando played Philly, got our hopes up just to crush us in the fourth quarter, like the Sixers crushed us. I think outscored us 32 or 31 to 22 in the fourth quarter.
31, yeah.
And
no Ben
really
Simmons.
No Ben Simmons either. I mean, the Sixers, I don't know if they even expected to beat us. Obviously, no AG helped. But the Sixers, I mean, without Ben Simmons, that team is
going nowhere.
Tough to watch.
Yeah.
But and they'll finish out this season with Blazers, Suns, Raptors, Rockets. So they're gonna have a fun time with the Blazers and the Suns. I'm interested to see what happens with them. Obviously, I'll be watching the rest of these Suns games to see if they can actually go 7-1, 8-0. Regardless, if they go 5-3, that's a dub.
I have no idea.
I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, they want to get into the playoffs. Talk to a couple Suns fans who they say, I don't care if we get smacked 4-0 in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
we just want to be there.
Which
is something we can resonate with. Last year, we didn't care what it looked like. We were so happy to get a game. Obviously, I was a little infatuated after we won game 1, riding high, and then game 2 came out, and that Raptors defense you were just talking about, just stifling. We learned all about the Raptors defense last year. Just incredible. Probably statistically second behind the Milwaukee Bucks and probably in defense, I think. So, it'll be interesting to see how the season plays out. There's still some dramatics to be had all over the bubble, but even for the Orlando Magic, we'll see if the Magic keep it respectable today, and then moving forward, the Nets on Tuesday, and that's the big one. Got to win that one, and just got to pray.
So yeah, always got to pray. Jumping back to Sixers Magic, so Magic fell 101 to 108, and Luke, I really I never want to put the blame on one guy. Like if you look, throughout the course of a 48-minute game, there's definitely things that people can do better, or other decisions that you can make and stuff like that. For instance, Markelle had a few offensive fouls in this game. If those aren't fouls and we get buckets, maybe we're looking at a different game down the stretch. Looking at Philadelphia, Alec Burks, 22 points, 8 of 15 from the floor. I know he had a really good game against the Magic earlier in the year when he was playing for the Warriors. But if he doesn't shoot the ball, quite as well, maybe we're talking about a different game. But when you look at, Terrence Ross's stat line on the night, 0 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He went 0 of 10 from the floor, 0 of 4 from the three-point line. After the game, he, tweeted out that he played like sugar, honey, iced tea. I'll let you put that together. The poop emoji, right, and that the loss was on him. I never agree that a loss is on one guy, but you just really can't argue that if Terrence Ross has a better game, the Magic basically can win this game. They have a really good chance to win this game if Terrence Ross. If we get what we normally get out of Terrence, the Magic have a legitimate shot to win this game. So, Terrence and Evan have both really been hit or miss so far in the bubble, even going back to the scrimmages. If those guys aren't firing on all cylinders and playing really, really well, it sucks to say this, man, but this last week has just really took the wind out of my sails, and we might be kind of overreacting, because anytime you have 4 straight losses, it's going to feel like the end of the world. You just feel like you're the worst team in the league. If we have 2 wins coming down the stretch here, I might feel better going into the playoffs, but it's looking bleak right now, Luke. I can't lie.
Yeah, you look around at that Sixers game, obviously with Terrence even playing that bad. Really, the Magic played with the Sixers the entire time. Obviously, Sixers trying to figure out what games look like without Ben Simmons now. But if you look at it, field goal percentage, we had a 2% advantage at 42% to their 40. We shoot 2% less or worse from the three-point line. We shoot 4% better from the free throw line. You get out-rebounded by 5 offensively, so that kind of stung. But if you look at it, it is guys like Terrence Ross who go 0 for 10. It's guys like Gary Clark who go 1 for 5.
Even Markelle, not his most efficient game.
No, and you look at that, he went 4 for 12, 1 for 3 from 3, 13 points. It is what it is. The Magic, at the end of the day, are just working with what they've got. You've got to play guys like Gary Clark. You have to. James Ennis obviously been starting for the Magic. Played well against the Sixers, against his former team. So I was happy for him for that. But, man, it would have been nice to get that win, especially with how the Nets have been getting some really outlandish wins to keep them up at that 7th spot.
So let's talk some quick Celtics. It's literally 4:30 right now. That game's starting in about 30 minutes. You guys will be listening to this Monday, so this game will have already happened. But let's just talk real quick, what do we think is going to happen in this Celtics game, and then let's talk just a couple minutes about Markelle, and then we'll wrap up here.
Yeah. So as far as the Celtics game goes, you heard our starting lineup for this game. It's not going to probably be pretty. My hope is that the Magic keep it respectable. Don't get beat by double digits at least. And that's really all you can hope for. Hopefully Terrence has a bounce back game. Markelle kind of tries to find a rhythm against Kemba Walker, who they announced will play more minutes than he's been playing tonight. So go figure, the Magic's luck continues.
Magic killer confirmed.
Yep. Right. So hopefully Kemba doesn't go off, but who knows? Like I said, hopefully T. Ross bounces back. Hopefully Markelle has a good game. and we can get some good production out of guys like Vucevic, because we're gonna need it.
Well, I mean, if you just look at the Celtics' last 2 games, just absolutely completely destroy the Nets. Basically like 30-point win there, and then smacked the Raptors Friday night, 122-100. So I'm not feeling great about tonight. I mean, defense, rebounding to me is like right now that's what the Magic have to focus on. Like if you don't defend well at a high level, if you're not winning the rebounding battle, we just can't bank on the offense to carry us to wins. I always just thought that was the dumbest thing when people were like, "Oh, over our last 10 games, the Magic are the number 1 offensive rated team." I just always felt like it was a fluky thing. Like the Magic get really, really hot for a few games, and then they revert to what they really are. And I just think for this team to be successful, you have to defend at a high level, you have to rebound the ball at a high level, you have to limit turnovers to have a chance against good teams. Sure, the Magic can get hot and beat the bad teams sometimes. But when it comes to the really good teams, we've just seen if the Magic don't defend, don't rebound, don't take care of the ball, most of the time they're going to get waxed. So we'll see what happens tonight. But let's talk about Markelle, man. You and I haven't really had this conversation yet, but I just feel like I'm at the point where I'm not worried, right? But I'm just like, when we say things just like it doesn't make sense. Like, what do you think is stopping Markelle from, especially tonight we're looking at a game without Aaron, without Evan, without Michael Carter-Williams. We're gonna need probably anywhere from 15 to 25 points from Markelle tonight and moving forward for the Magic to play well and be competitive. So a lot of people are like, why hasn't Markelle just taken the reins and be like, this is my team, I'm on the floor, this is what I'm going to do. We kind of saw it against Philadelphia the other night where he came out. It's kind of a revenge game for him. Obviously, everyone knows why. So I think that really played into it. But just, when is it going to happen, Luke?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I really don't know what it's going to take. Obviously, Markelle coming off of being restricted, he's gotten more minutes the past few games than he had played the game before. I don't know. Like I said, I hope that against the Celtics he can match up against Kemba and kind of go at Kemba, and we can see kind of a fun back and forth between those two players.
I don't want it to be fun for them. I want it to be fun for us.
Right. No,
Just
we want a fun time. We want Markelle to drop 20 plus. Would be great. But yeah, man. As far as when, I don't know. At this point, the season's so weird at this stage that it's hard to really predict anything. It's hard to know where their heads are at with J.I.'s injury, with AG being out, MCW being out tonight, Evan Fournier being out tonight. Hopefully that just means that they step up and they play well, and maybe this is the game where those guys can turn a corner who have been struggling. Guys like Markelle who've just been playing kind of average for what we would hope for him. Hopefully tonight is that night that Markelle can step up.
It's just really weird because you just see it at any time he wants it. He gets into that paint and either gets the pull up, the floater, or that little hesitation turnaround jumper, and the statistic, Mike Schmitz, who used to be with Draft Express, who is now with ESPN, he put out this 10-minute long video the other day just showing, the things that Markelle does well, showing that he really is the starting caliber, guard in the league, and he's one of the most efficient players in the league in the mid-range, also, with those mid-range turnarounds and things like that. So it's not even just about him getting to the rim anytime he wants. He can get into the paint and get a quality shot anytime he wants. And if he doesn't get a quality shot for himself, he draws attention from those, bigs and has a dump off to Vooch, or can find an open shooter or something like that. So it's just really been a weird thing. Like you said, I don't have a good handle on why, but it's like a recurring question now. When is Markelle gonna become the guy? I jokingly said from the Six Man Show Twitter account, why doesn't Markelle think he's as good as we all do? Because if he did, he would just I remember Damian Lillard's rookie season. He just came in and took over. Tyreke Evans, now he hasn't been the player that we thought he was going to be after his rookie season, but his rookie season with the Kings, he came in and he just took over. And I feel like Markelle could be, that level of player as far as playmaker, getting to the rim, getting his own shot, and it's just we still have these questions as why Markelle, hasn't taken over yet. And he has a huge opportunity to do that tonight with, the Magic really needing him to do that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll be having a different conversation tomorrow, but it's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about guys like Dame and Tyreek. I could be wrong, but I don't know that their supporting cast was incredible. At least Tyreek's. So it is kind of different. Obviously, the Magic's roster is not great either.
If there was any night where you could say the supporting cast is not there, tonight is the night.
Tonight is the night. But hopefully, with the supporting cast not being there against the Celtics, hopefully Markelle can step up, kind of do his thing. Cliff shows some more confidence in him, and he gets the ball rolling. And then that carries over into that massive game against the Brooklyn Nets, which at this point is what all the people listening to are looking at right now, looking forward to, is that game. Hopefully we can get that win.
Let's get a dub tonight, and then we've got the Nets on Tuesday and the Pelicans on Thursday. That game time is still to be determined, so we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen on Thursday night. The Pelicans game, that they haven't released a time yet, so we'll have to keep a lookout for that. But, Luke, I don't have anything else. I have no more rounds in the chamber this week.
No, I'm good as well.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to the Six Man Show. We're just about 22 minutes from tip-off of the Celtics. Hopefully we'll be celebrating a Magic win tomorrow. But, again, thank you guys for listening to the Six Man Show. For Luke, this has been Jonathan, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.